Paul Arragon here today. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yep.
Paul Arragon?
Yep.
Okay. So we got Paul Arragon on the show today. Thank you for being here. Paul's actually here hanging out over at our office, the Foothills office, and talking business, talking video, talking everything really. And you were telling me about some of your story, Paul, and it's been pretty interesting, I have to say, because you were kind of like saying how, you kind of felt like, we'll just jump right in, man.
Right, yeah. Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's just dive in. Where you were saying about, you kind of felt that you needed to have like a college education, or you don't have like a big business background, and and you kind of felt like that was somewhat limiting you in your progress in roofing. But you've been successful in roofing. Can you share a little bit of what you were talking about as far as I think you started as a canvasser, right?
Yeah. So I met a guy in church. I went through a whole period where I was incarcerated from my adolescent stage to early adulthood, got in trouble, selling drugs in the mix, and gave my life to Christ, changed everything, and came out and met a guy that was working for a roofing company. Well, next thing you know, he's having me do odd jobs, started having me canvas, started doing really well. We became a sales team, and then come to find out he was burning me and taking draws towards the jobs. Then the owner was part of a national scam, and he was taking people's first checks and not doing any work. And it started off in Georgia, Florida, all these states. And he come to set up in Colorado, and it was somewhat legit. I mean, they're here for about 10 years, or about 8 to 10 years. And I started working for this guy. Next thing you know, they shut down, and he files bankruptcy.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, great. Start doing good, start learning sales, start selling all these jobs. I sold 55 roofs in less than 2 months.
How did you know how to do that? That's crazy. And when you first started out, you've had a background in sales then?
Yeah, in the wrong way, right?
Okay. So you've always been hustling.
Yeah, I was a hustler.
You've always been hustling since you were a little kid.
Yeah, I was hungry and I wanted to make money. And then after my change of life, I wanted to make a difference. And I wanted to share my story. And I was homeless on parole when I met this guy and started knocking doors, doing really well. And he's like, man, you should just be my sales partner. So we started.
Because they hired you to canvas.
They hired me to canvas and do odd jobs. I was a runner. I was a gopher. You
got out of jail. You needed a job. You're just like, hey, whatever. And that's really every roofing company kind of hires guys. Sometimes there's something, that's all they do. That's like their business model.
Yeah,
hire guys right out of jail.
Because people need a job and they're willing to work. I just want to stay.
Too,
I just don't want to stay the hell out of jail. I want to stay out of prison. Whatever I got to do, I'll do what it takes.
Yeah.
And usually then people are the hardest workers.
Yeah.
But then they also prey upon them if the companies, sometimes the company's not up and up. Some of them are. I'm not going to say all of them are bad.
Yeah.
But these guys definitely took advantage of me for a while.
Okay.
Just because of my willingness.
Mm-hmm. And
then I didn't know how things worked, man. I never had a 1099. I was either always under the table or illegally working.
I think I remember you telling me a little bit about how they were paying you some kind of a split, but you didn't know that it was based on RCV or something like that.
So they would give us a draw towards the job once the first ACV check was collected. Well, I didn't understand all of it yet.
Okay.
RCV, ACV. I barely even knew what drip edge and ice and water was.
All you knew was a free inspection.
All I knew was free inspection, sign them up.
Okay.
Sign the contingency, right?
Okay.
Push the contingency agreement, stab a sign, and make sure you get the claim number and the date the adjuster is going to be there. Because back then...
And you get a check on Friday.
Yeah, and come get your money, right? Or here, we'll pay you $10 an hour for 20 hours for the week, so you could work 4 hours a day for 5 days a week.
Okay.
So pay you as a canvasser. And then I didn't know that we could get the percentage towards the ACV amount. Well, the sales guy, or the partner that I had, he was getting draws.
Okay, the sales guy was getting the draws.
And he's the one that I was underneath.
Okay.
So he brought me on, and they're like, hey, this guy's killing it. Who is this kid? Well, they call me, and I go in the office. They said, hey, something's going on. You're not getting payroll. I'm like, well, how does all this work? Mm-hmm. You guys are taking all the money. I don't know how this works. I thought we were going to get paid once the job is paid, and it's done. They're like, no, you could get an amount up to a certain percentage is what the boss is allowing.
Oh, the sales guy was keeping all the money.
Yeah.
That's
So
what it
he was like, oh, we're a
Okay.
sales team. And we're supposed to do 50-50 split of whatever he sold and whatever I sold. So we were helping each other close the deals, adjuster meetings, the whole nine. Well, I was learning, but I learned fast. And he was like, dude, you're killing it.
Yeah.
55 roofs in like a month and a half. Like that's a roof a day.
That's huge.
And he's like, oh my gosh, dude, like no roofing experience. I'm like, well, I've done tear off. I was always a gopher, a laborer.
Yeah.
I worked in the masonry, done a bunch of stuff like that.
And so did you get that worked out with that company or whatever? Or did you get the money from the sales dude?
So that day we went in, the GM calls him in, the other guy. And he's like, you MF, he's cussing me out. I leave the office that after that meeting with a $4,236 check. I remember the exact amount still to this day.
4,200?
Yeah.
That's a good amount of money.
And he's like, well, I said, well, here's my spreadsheet.
They hooked you up then, right?
Well, they proved all the way back of the contingencies where my name was signed on.
Okay.
But the ones before that, I could not prove. All I had was a spreadsheet of saying, hey, I was involved in this job. I door knocked this job, and I kind of took notes.
Okay.
And they're like, well, your name's not on the contingency or the exception of the proposal, so we can't pay you on it. And I'm like, this dude. Well, now till this day, after the company shut down, he went off on his own. He's been revoked by the Better Business Bureau. Like you reap what you sow.
Crazy,
so
dude.
I'm not happy that it's
crazy.
doing bad, but he's lost his pretty much business. Now he's working for somebody else again.
Wow, crazy.
And the owner was a multiple millionaire multiple times and lost it multiple times. Now he's back as a salesman for somebody else in Texas.
Interesting. Wow.
So it's crazy,
dude.
crazy.
Yeah, this business is nuts sometimes. So, okay. So then tell us a little bit about the story about Jira 7, because for one, Jira 7, do we even know that's a roofing company?
What is that? What is that? And that's why we did it. It intrigues people. So I had to file a business name to get paid because I was a sole proprietor for that time, and I was working under the table. I did windows on houses with my dad. My dad was in construction, but I hated it. So Jira 7 came from, Jira means provider. So when I was incarcerated, I gave my life to Christ. Jehovah Jireh means provider.
Okay.
I feel that God's provided me a second chance to succeed and to encourage other people that grew up like me in a broken home around alcoholism, was pretty much a product of their environment, that I can encourage them to say, hey, look, it's not over. You can be a success no matter what your picture of success looks like. You don't have to make $1 million. You don't have to have all these things, but just being content and going after what your passion is, what you could become passionate about. And I just wanted to help people. So when that company shut down, I had to file a business name with the new company that I was working for, which was 3 salesmen from that other company that also got ripped off. They started their own company.
Okay.
So they're like, hey, our accountant said you need to file a business name. You're a subcontractor. You're a 1099. So we need to make it look like we're paying another business and not just some guy that looks like he's on our payroll.
Right.
So we want to keep the books clean.
Yeah.
So I filed the name, and I was working at a church. I was an assistant. I was pretty much interning as a pastor. I was a janitor at the church. And me and the pastor were just brainstorming. I was like, man, I want to run my own business. Like, this is what I've always been wanting to do. Like, these dudes are doing crappy work, scamming people. Surely I could do better than this. And I'm like, I just really feel like God's provided for me. And he's like, that's it. Why don't you name your business Jira? God provides, and you provide quality work with honesty and integrity is your top priority. And I'm like, I like that tagline. Like, that's something that I've always said. Honesty and integrity is important to me.
Yeah.
Ever since my change of life. So Jira means provider. And that's our tagline. And then 7 means completion. So we bring all of our work to completion, and we have a great reputation.
Yeah, you
know,
do.
to do that.
You do, man. You got a lot of reviews, really good reviews.
It's been nice.
Like, man, I was impressed because I was looking on your guys' online profile and stuff. I was like, how the hell does he do so many damn reviews? He's by himself, you know?
And that's the thing is, I never knew how to do any of this. I built my own website, staying up till 2 a.m. It was a cookie cutter website, but still learning how to put everything together and still learning stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Claiming all my listings. I mean, staying up countless nights. My wife's like, are you going to come to bed?
Yeah.
And my office is literally like my laptop in the bed or in the corner of the room. Yep. Yep. So still home based. Hopefully grow soon, but I've just been taught of what not to do. So I didn't want to move too fast, and just not having that business background is just been like, okay, well, waiting on a few things. We're getting putting the story
Well,
out.
what is your background? Were you born in Colorado?
Colorado native,
Okay.
born and raised Denver, Commerce City area.
Okay.
And now we just bought our first
parents
home.
together?
No.
Came from a broken home type situation?
Home. They split up when I was around toddler, maybe 5 years old. A lot of alcoholism. Both parents were alcoholics.
Wow.
Dad was in the bars, women, you name it. He always worked. He always had money. He's in the pipe fitters union. He did side jobs. He was always a hustler as well.
Commerce City is a little bit of a rough area, right?
It is now,
So-
and it always has been. It's always, there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do but either, party with your friends and then the rec center. And I loved basketball as a kid, but I dropped out early, got discouraged from...
Started hanging with the wrong group of kids and all that stuff.
My sister had older friends and boyfriends, and they were gang affiliated. They were drug dealers. So what did I become? Product of my environment, and that's how I learned all the stuff that I was doing.
Oh, you kind of got somewhat of a business education.
A lot of the wrong things again, and then just learning how to manage and getting into jams where they would give me something to sell, and then sometimes we would party. We'd roll up blunts or do whatever and do stupid stuff as kids.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Hey, where's my money?" And I'm like, oops. So I learned.
So in high school, you got in a lot of trouble too.
Yeah.
Did you end up finishing high school?
No.
Really?
I dropped out first term in 9th grade.
Oh, wow.
I was pretty much great at basketball. Had scouts looking at us from colleges. Made JV as a freshman. And me and the coach got into it. And he says, well, you're not going to think that you're Allen Iverson dribbling the ball up the court. You need to pass the ball. Because I'm like, I could dribble through all these guys. Nobody could steal the ball from me. I was kind of cocky, arrogant. And I was short. So I had that little man syndrome. I had a complex. I was like, I'm going to prove it to these guys that nobody could take the ball from me. So the coach didn't like that. So we got into it, and I said, I'm done. And I dropped out of school, and I just started bringing a ditch and sell drugs to people.
Wow, crazy, man.
Smoking marijuana and drinking.
You got pinched and had to go to get incarcerated and all that. That's crazy, man. You've been through a lot. I can't believe it. And then so you've come so far. It's just like crazy to think about. And then you, so recently now you have Jira 7. You run your own business. You sell roofing. You take care of people. I mean, I would buy a roof from you, even, if I wasn't at Foothills. I'd love to buy a roof from you, to be honest.
Appreciate that.
People
man.
can trust you, and I feel like you're not going to try and take advantage of people. What do you do if a job starts going sideways on you? I'm sure that happens.
So, I've put together a process, like when I hire my crews, we have a subcontractor model. So I'm pretty much a general contractor. It's worked out better that way. We started off, and I had the workers' comp, and I had all this stuff. But, man, the expenses for it.
Are you supplementing your own jobs?
No, we outsource now.
Okay.
We outsource now.
Okay, all right.
But when the job would go sideways, I would back charge the roofers. Like, hey, if something happens wrong, or you guys bust siding, or something happens, like we had a job where the supplier loaded it. We requested a ground drop. They loaded it. And it busted one of the walls, like the rafters busted through, like from the weight. It almost sagged the roof in. And I started documenting, taking pictures right away. So I learned from all these conferences, some of that stuff, like always document, take photos.
Yeah.
They used to tease me at all the other companies I work for. Dude, you and your 300 photos per file. Like, dude, but we don't get back charged for rotted siding or anything that was pre-existing because I've taken photos. And they're like, I guess you're right. Like, well, I take photos, dude. I'm detail. Like, I have to have it.
For sure.
Because I'm not getting blamed for it.
You're on company cam?
Oh, yes. Now,
Okay, nice.
Before it was Google Photos or putting stuff in my phone and putting it in categories or files and stuff and separating stuff by address
hard,
or
man.
job name.
And do you link it up to your job Nimbus?
Yep.
Did you?
Yep.
Okay.
Now
nice.
it works like a charm, but
Yeah,
before,
that's good.
when a job would go sideways, we just have to document. And I've learned, obviously, from
So
everybody else's
you
failure.
get angry customers.
Maybe one per year. Maybe
Okay.
one per year.
Really?
And it's
Okay.
because usually they don't want to pay, or they think, oh, we received more money from the insurance. It's ours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hold on a second. I didn't do all that work and do all this extra stuff for you guys to keep the money. Like, it's ours because the code requirements, we have to walk through it. And usually it's like, all right, finally, they're like, okay, we're going to pay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
May not get a review out of it, but they're still not angry enough to leave a bad review. And the two
You're
bad
good about asking for reviews every time.
We've tried to put a process together where once we're done and we do the walkthrough and everything, or hey, are you satisfied? Do you have any feedback for us? And if they say, oh man, it's been great. Well, cool. Can you take a few minutes to help us out? And then my system will automate a message and just follow the prompts.
Like through Broadly, or Broadly? Yeah. So do I. See, that's the thing, man. That's why we've got a lot of reviews too, and we definitely good about letting people know. But Broadly automatically does it through Job Nimbus. That's what you got help with setting up.
Well, it hasn't helped as much as what you would think. Some of our numbers through Broadly, I've been on them a lot with, hey, what can we do to get people to respond better? So it's all about the timing too, right? You want to get that customer right when they're excited, when they're ready to pay you. You're getting ready to collect. You've done the walkthrough, and they're like, oh, man, thank you so much. You guys have been so awesome. Even the neighbors mentioned you went over there and knocked on the door and said, hey, we apologize for the noise, and if any debris falls over, we'll come and grab it. Your guys have been courteous. Right then and there, when that that emotional experience has happened with the customer, has been the best for us to get that review and capture it.
Yeah.
And I'll share from my Google My Business. You could have the Google My Business app, and you just share it.
That's a good way to do it too.
And I just share to a text message like, hey, can you fill it out right now while I'm here? And that's been most successful for us. But even then, when people are happy, they still won't take the time to leave the review. And it's so crazy.
Hard. Yeah.
You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. And then so I'm curious a little bit about your, you've had some challenges with recruiting,
right,
and growing in that, and with salespeople,
right.
Like what are some of those, like, because you've been with Jira for a couple years now, right?
We started in 2016.
Okay.
So, I mean, I had the company name registered back in 2012, and then was running as a sole proprietor since 2006. Windows on houses and other stuff, cover up type of stuff, when I was getting in trouble. But recruiting's been a challenge because trying to find somebody that has the same values. I know people are out there, but I think we just need to refine our hiring process and asking better questions, even before they even come to that interview. Just doing that pre-qualify, if you will, on the phone, and being more in depth and being upfront, like, hey, this is what we're about. Do you
want to get more salespeople?
Honestly, I would only settle for just a couple good people. Honestly, I don't really see myself growing to, like, having 20 sales reps or $100 million company. I just want to make a difference. Wherever we go, I want to share my story.
I feel like you're fairly happy. You have good customers. You have a good family. You've come a long way. I mean, you just bought a house, you were saying. Right. I mean, that's huge. And I feel like it doesn't necessarily need to be like every roofer doesn't have to have, do 20 million in sales, and that's, I mean, even, cause you alone can hit, millions of dollars in sales, and maybe have like a production assistant, and then outsource your billing and outsource whatever you can.
And we have outsourced supplementing. I've outsourced, like, in automations with Job Nimbus has helped tremendously. It reduces your workload where you have your templates set up. Ordering's a piece of cake. You just put your numbers in there, and everything else already popped up and populated. You just change your how many bundles you need of what. Yeah. And you have your pictures. I mean, some of the stuff has really simplified things to free me up. I mean, I'm taking my family to Universal Studios next week.
That's awesome.
So,
wow.
I mean, I don't want to be, I don't want to be the Chuck in the truck. Obviously, I want to run a business like a business, but it's okay. You could still be a home-based business and make it, because everybody was like, oh, you'll never make it like that. All the guys that I worked for, they're like, dude, clowning on me.
Oh, tell me about it.
And I said, watch, I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah, I love when people say that.
It feeds me. It's like a fire that stirs up in you, and you're like, dude, really? Like, why are you being a hater? You're already at 50 million. Why are you hating on me? You're at 10 million. Like, what does it matter to you if I make it or not? Like, why would you even say that? Well, all right.
Yeah.
That's game on.
Well, it's just human nature. I feel like to be sort of negative and that kind of thing. I think it takes a lot of like mental toughness to just kind of use that as fuel to motivate you. And that's definitely what I do. That's just kind of, I've always been like that as a kid, even, but yeah, man, that's crazy. I'm excited for you to go over to Universal Studios.
I appreciate it.
Are you worried about COVID at all, though?
Our viewpoint, man. I mean, honestly, I respect everybody, right? We wear the masks. We keep sanitizer in the truck. My guys, when they're roofing, they still have masks on their trucks and stuff. The crews,
for sure,
very respectful.
Yeah.
But our stance on it, it's like, we look at the numbers and we're like, look, it's like the flu. If you're healthy, you're probably going to be okay. You're probably going to get over it. And now as time progresses, they're saying it's just crazy what the media puts out there.
Yeah, it's hard to know. There's like you hear different stories.
And I've traveled to Tennessee to a Dave Ramsey conference
Oh,
just
that's
a couple
right.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've traveled to Texas. I've traveled a few places this year.
Yeah.
And I'm always just, it's something we've always done. My wife's a germaphobe. She always has Clorox wipes everywhere and Lysol.
Yeah.
So, and we've always used hand sanitizer in the house. So nothing's really changed at the Arragon household or for us.
Are your kids doing remote learning or in person?
They went back to school, but then now they just sent them back home because of the spike, or there was 2 people that tested positive in the county, so that now they're freaking out again. So we're being respectful of everybody. We want to be respectful of customers and clients and stuff like that. And everywhere where we go, we want to exemplify that character of being respectful, right?
Absolutely.
And taking responsibility for our own actions and those type of things. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're not real worried about it.
Yeah.
As long as you take the precautions and you're not being nasty. And not washing your hands and
absolutely
not covering your mouth if you're coughing or if you're sneezing, even if you're not sick. It's just a respecting. I think if we all did a better job at that, I think it would be a lot better. But it's sad to say that they say one thing, the masks don't work, but they want us to wear masks. So it's like, just go through what you got to go through and just let's get through it. We're going to make it through it.
We'll get through it.
We've made it through everything else.
Might take 10 years, but hey.
Well, and that's the thing with us when this hit. I mean, did you guys get affected with business?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
We took a huge hit.
Yeah, we're taking a hit. I mean, I think we continue to take hits, because even though we can be like essential services, we can definitely stay open, which is awesome,
right.
But I think it was very challenging. It's been very challenging, man, this whole year. It's tested my leadership ability big time, and the one thing though, because I also grew up in a broken home, divorce, all that kind of stuff, and alcoholic dad and all that, and like part of me kind of thrives on chaos,
right.
and struggle,
challenge,
and yes, very intense challenges. Like I'm just used to that, and just because of the way I grew up, and so when COVID hit, I was like, cool, what are we gonna do? And that's kind of what we spun off into doing this media lab work. We're doing videos for others now, and that's been kind of cool. And then that's been helping Foothills, get our digital marketing on point, and so it's been, so I'm actually pretty optimistic about the future at this point, but definitely when it first hit, man, I was freaking the F out, man. I was just worried,
right.
If I got a lead, I was like running to myself and closing. I'm not giving it to our sales guys. I'm closing this sucker myself,
right.
know? But I've gotten over that now. And, I'm not as I think my mom got it, so she got COVID and she recovered, took about 10 days and she's okay. Thank God, but she said it felt like a mild cold. So that was kind of like made me maybe not as worried about it, So that's kind of there. Thank you. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think if it goes through another lockdown, I really hope it doesn't. But if it does, I think we're somewhat prepared. We've kind of been through one lockdown, and we get through another one. But it's definitely hard. It's a whole new world out there now, man.
Well, and that's where this year was like a realization for me. Like, okay, at first I started freaking out because of the money. We lost about a third of revenue, probably about $750,000.
Wow.
Of our projections of what we were supposed to hit this year. So it's like, holy crap, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But then I had to recollect myself and say, okay, well, hold on a second. Let's look at our numbers. Let's look at our AR. Let's look where we're at.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't go get an office and expand like I had planned to.
Yeah.
Part of me was like thankful because it's like, man, when you're responsible for other people, you don't want to let them down because there's other families out there, like my crews and stuff. I've been trying to give them work and networking with other people to get them work as well.
Yeah.
Connected them with a friend that runs snow removal and landscape as well.
Oh, that's cool.
To kind of partnership with do some of that to help their families. You know what I mean? Because it's not just about me, even though I'm a one-man band. But come to that realization this year that I don't need to be that big company, and I'm okay with where I'm at. I don't have to scale, and put myself in a predicament where I'm going to regret it.
Yeah.
But do things strategically and right, and I'm at the right place. I'm at where I'm supposed to be, and if the good Lord sees fit that He wants me to grow, then I'll grow, and I'll hopefully be a blessing to my sales team and people that come on board. But at the same time, ministry has always been my passion as well.
Yeah.
So I still stay involved with other men as a men's group. I was a men's pastor. I was a pastor's assistant. I was the right-hand man of the church. So there for a while, I was doing roofing and that. And I've always had the heart for people and just to impact and encourage troubled teens, youth, other men. Hey, you struggling with being a dad and like adjusting to all this chaos, or people that are coming out from incarceration to adjust to being out on the streets.
Yeah.
And just giving them that hope and saying, look, if I can make it, you just got to put in the work. I
think that's kind of like the theme of this podcast is that, you've been through a lot, and, anybody listening can kind of see that, a challenges, even really intense ones like what you've been through, can be overcome, and you can come out on the other side with, a family. And it doesn't mean that life is a bowl of cherries, but and there's there's challenges. I mean, you have, some challenges growing your business with the salespeople, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's something every business owner goes through, including us. I want to, I see other roofing companies who are being successful, and I want to have 15 sales guys too, like tomorrow, So, but I think as we kind of grow one salesperson at a time, I think that all accumulates and creates compounding,
Right.
I've already experienced that over the years. So yeah, we'll kind of continue going in that direction. But yeah, Paul, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in, and yeah, we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you next time.
Right on. Thanks.